Hello, I'm Zaj, and welcome to episode 7 of my Katawa Shoujo Let's Read. Joining me, as always, is my co-reader Faith. It seems that Lily and Shizune seem to have a little bit of dislike for each other, shall we say. And they really don't quite get along. Which means they isolate poor little Hanako, which we're a bit sad about. And also, we went and visited Lily in her classroom where they were preparing for the festival. And it seems like they have a nice big project going on, which we helped out with. And hopefully, it will be a roaring success when the festival rolls around. So, I hope you enjoy this next episode of Katawa Shoujo. My morning alarm goes off, and I flail about uselessly for a while, until I remembered that I decided to give morning runs another shot. I don't know if this was my greatest idea, but I'm determined to keep going. This is about my health, after all. Sure, things haven't been great lately for me, but that hasn't made existence so intolerable that I'm not going to try everything I can to stay healthy. Besides, it's all about asserting some kind of control over this thing, right? If I can manage that, well, I can manage anything. At least, that's what I keep telling myself. Once again, it would appear that I'm not alone in my run. Emmy has apparently been here for some time. It looks like she's already worked up a good sweat. Just when the hell does she come down here anyway?
Oh, it's you. I'm surprised to see you again.
Why's that?
Well, not many people actually manage to come back for a second try.
She frowned, seemingly annoyed by a passing thought.
Like the rest of the track team, for instance. Still, it was only supposed to be on a volunteer basis, so it's not that big of a shock. I guess it's pretty early in the morning.
A shrug, and suddenly it appears that she's forgotten what she was talking about. The frown disappears entirely, and she seems to snap back to her previous train of thought.
So, come on then.
What?
You're here to run again, right?
Well, yes.
So come on.
I find myself suddenly grabbed and yanked onto the track. Things seem to be set on mirroring yesterday's run. That is, I seem to be struggling, while Emmy moves on with effortlessness that I find enviable. It's incredibly bothersome to be so easily worn out. I know I should be patient, work towards things gradually, but it's difficult to stay positive about this. We round the track and start on our second lap. Emmy seems to have grown impatient keeping pace with me and begins to pull away. This is where I gave out yesterday. Will I be able to do more? Let's go for it! What am I doing here? Am I really just going to fold and let Emmy pull ahead? I speed up. The second lap's done quickly, and without even considering it, I keep going. Emmy looks back over her shoulder at me and grins.
Still going?
Wouldn't want you to think I'm out of shape. Emmy laughs, without breaking her stride no less, and speeds up even more. Well, if this is the way we're going to play things, I increase my own pace as well. I can feel my lungs burning and my legs are starting to question just what the hell I think I'm doing. Lactic acid screams in my muscles, but I close my ears. I can't let myself fall behind, because that would be a loss. The rational voice in my head inquires mildly just when we started playing a game. I'd answer it, but I'm having a lot of trouble thinking at present. She's so fast. What the hell is it? It's like a string pulling at my chest. a choking feeling of narrowness and pain. Before I can think of anything else then, shit. The track disappears from under my feet. I stumble, one hand shooting down to clutch at my chest, the other hitting the track to keep me from falling on my face. Emmy whirls around and her eyes widen.
Hisao!
She yells at me, sprinting from the other side of the track.
What's wrong?
Nothing. Just keep your breathing steady. Calm down. Don't panic. Don't panic.
Do you need me to get the nurse?
I close my eyes, shutting out the outside world. My heart struggles to regain its rhythm. Slowly, the pain in my chest begins to subside. Soon, it's gone like nothing happened. It was nothing? No, something happened there. I open my eyes again and glance at a very worried Emmy. I think I'm fine. My voice sounds weird, even to myself. Oddly even and matter-of-fact. It makes Emmy frown.
I don't think you are.
She seems to come to a decision and nods to herself.
Right. You're coming with me. You've got to see the nurse.
Emmy grabs my arm and drags me up. I feel a bit wobbly, but I refuse the shoulder Emmy offers for support. Honestly, I'm a little ashamed by my own weakness. I'd really rather not have Emmy concerned about me, but it seems to be too late. Heck, I'd really rather not to have anyone concerned about my condition. Though, at this point, it seems to be too late for that as well. I'd like to be able to deal with the whole thing on my own, without being a bother to anyone else. While I'm wishing for things, I'd rather not have this condition in the first place.
Nurse!
Emmy crashes into his office without knocking, but it doesn't alarm the nurse in the least.
Good morning, Sunshine. What's up?
Sunshine? Anyway, he calmly sips from his coffee mug, but lays it down after following Emmy's gaze to me looming in the doorway.
Hisao? What brings you here?
We were running and he stumbled over and started grabbing at his chest and I thought I'd come get him.
Easy there, Emmy. Calm down. Hisao, what happened?
I don't know. We were running, and then my chest started hurting like that time before, but it went away after a few seconds. It was just a flutter or something. The nurse frowns as if to say that just a flutter is some kind of oxymoron.
I didn't mean quite this when I suggested to get some exercise. You've got to be more careful, Hisao.
I was being careful. Come to think of it, I just got into a race with a member of the track team. Doesn't seem as well-reasoned as I thought it would.
You just what?
That is, I was racing Emmy.
Emmy? Is this true?
Emmy fidgets, looking adorably contrite.
Well...
Finally, she can't seem to bring herself to say it aloud, and merely nods. The nurse sighs and rubs at his forehead with one hand tiredly.
Emmy, you gotta be more sensitive to the limits of others. I don't know if he told you, but Hisao has a bad heart, and getting him to race you was incredibly irresponsible.
Actually, I started it. The nurse is stunned by my statement.
What?
We were just running, and Emmy started to pull away, and so I sped up to catch her. The nurse stares at the ceiling, mutters a prayer for patience to some god or another, and looks back at the both of us.
That's a comfort, I guess. Now, come on, Hisao. I've got to make sure your heart's not going to explode or something.
I dutifully obey and follow him to the adjacent room, where we ascertain that I am, in fact, not going to keel over and die.
So, how does it feel?
I don't know. Nothing much. Tired, but it might just be from the exercise.
You should stay here for a few hours and rest, and we'll see how you feel after that.
I'm not going to object, so I lay down on the infirmary bed. A thoroughly miserable Emmy comes after getting an earful from the nurse in the other room. I couldn't hear what he said, though, through the closed door, but I'm sure it wasn't pleasantries.
Well, I'm really, really sorry. I should have been more careful.
Hey, you didn't know. It's not your fault. She looks awfully down and sorry, but my reassurance don't do anything much to cheer her up.
I want to make it up to you.
Again with that decisive nod.
So you have to come to lunch with me. I'll bring it for you, okay? Something really, really good.
I start with a "you don't have to," but then shut up and just nod when I see her face.
Good. We meet on the roof.
We?
Yep. The weather's nice now, so the roof's a great spot for lunch, you know?
I see.
You'll come, right? You wouldn't deny me the chance to make it up to you?
Of course not.
Great! See you there.
I stay afloat somewhere between asleep and awake, feeling completely drained. Not only my body, but all of me is limp and paralyzed, apart from my senses. I swallow with difficulty, and then try to lie as still as I can, which, in this state, is not a very hard thing to do. The nurse is shuffling around on the other side of the curtains he drew to give me privacy. I can see his shadow shifting about in the sunlight. He has opened the window to his office. It's windy outside. The clean white curtains flutter in the breeze in a heavy, lazy motion, like waves. Light sifts through them slowly, half absorbing into the factory. I close my eyes. The breeze on my face feels like the soft fabric of the curtains. I listen to the sounds of my heartbeat for a moment, trying to shut out the sound of the nurse tapping away on his computer, and my own heavy breathing. It's steady. Damn it, not even a week and I end up like this again. I really screwed up this time. Should have known better than to play the half-baked sports star in front of a real one. And why did I try to act brave, like the heart flutter was no big deal, even when it was obvious that it was? It was just a reflex, to push it away, to keep it inside. I didn't want it to happen. I didn't want Emmy to see it. Stupid, stupid, stupid. I have to be more careful, or I will end up in the hospital again. Or worse. Ellipses. That's my final thought before I give in to the tiredness. I fell asleep. For how long? What time is it? I'm feeling a little lightheaded, and I keep blinking compulsively. Pushing the curtain aside, I squint my eyes against this unfiltered light pouring in from the window. The texture of the canvas feels nothing like the wind did before. The nurse looks up from his work, sitting exactly where he was before.
How are you feeling?
I can't really tell, so I don't answer anything. I'm feeling kind of groggy for falling asleep at such a weird time. Hopefully, I don't look too weird. What time is it? Me croaking the question to gain some orientation. The nurse looks at his wristwatch before answering. Things seems to happen in slow motion.
10:15.
I try to think for a moment what that means, but I'm not really sure.
You didn't answer my question, Hisao.
Oh, fine.
Climb down from that bed then, and let's see how you're doing. Don't...
I try to do exactly that, only to sway dizzily when I move too fast. The nurse moves to support me by an arm and sighs.
Stand up too quickly is what I was going to say. Just sit there. I'll check your pressure to make sure.
My good intentions sure lasted for a long time. I shut up, embarrassed with myself, while the nurse gets busy with an old-fashioned contraption in my arm. After a couple of minutes, he puts it away, neither pleased nor unhappy.
You're alright. Head stop spinning?
Yeah.
Good. And how are the contents doing? You didn't show very good judgment out there, Hisao.
I swallowed the retort I was going to make. It's what I was thinking myself, but hearing it stated by someone else makes me want to protest. What he's saying is not pleasant to hear. Doesn't make him any less right. No, sir. He nods, still looking as neutral as he was before. It would be easy to be angry at him if he said, "Told you so," or something, but he doesn't.
I can try to help you keep your health, but ultimately the last call lies with you. Hopefully this little episode will be something that'll remind you of that. Here, a note for your teacher, to avoid an interrogation.
I take the slip of paper he's offering, and then make my leave as I can't think of anything else to say, nor even really want to.
Stay out of trouble, you hear me? I don't think it was anything but a scare, but next time could be different.
I hear ya. There's some way to get to the school building straight from the auxiliary building, but I'm not keen to find out, and possibly get lost, so I go out from the exit that I know works. I stop at the stairs of the auxiliary building, deliberating for a moment between going to the dorms to get my books and stuff, and going straight to the class. The sun stings my eyes, so I head towards the dorms. The halls are quiet as the courtyard was. Naturally so, since everyone's in class. I knock lightly at the door of 3-3, and push open the door when Muto calls from the other side. Sorry I'm late. 15 pairs of eyes turn to me. Good morning, Nakai. Muto seems to be somewhat confounded by my coming in late, as if I interrupted his flow or something. Judging from the rambling lectures his classes tend to be, that might be the case. I pass him the note the nurse gave me. Muto takes it with a nod and reads it quickly. He lifts his eyebrows and gives me a kind of stern look, but doesn't say anything, just nods solemnly again. I shrug and he gestures at me to run along, so I naturally do. The class goes on lazily. I think I'm starting to get into the rhythm of the school. I've even stopped worrying about taking notes and being overly attentive. The first days I was pretty high-strung in class. Muto finishes his lecture about electricity early, but continues without a pause about the festival. So, as you know, the festival is on the day after tomorrow. I hope everyone's projects are going to be successful this year. Have a good time, but also, come Sunday, please keep the meaning of the festival in your minds.
Games and fried food.
Everyone bursts out in laughter, and so do I. Yes, thank you, Mikado. What I really meant was... The remainder of his sentence is buried beneath the ring of the lunch bells, and everyone starts packing their things. Muto deliberates for a moment, but since almost nobody seems to pay attention anymore, he gives up and sits down. It's crowded in the hallway, or as crowded as hallways in the school probably get. Most of the students seem to be heading down to the cafeteria. Normally, I'd join the flow and grab the lunch myself, but today is different. Today, I've been invited to lunch on the roof. An odd location, but that's where I was told to go. Fortunately, I managed to find shelter from the storm in the lee of the classroom door. Eventually, the torrent subsides, and I step tentatively out into the hallway, only to be met by Emmy, who comes flouncing down the hallway like a cannonball.
Hey! Hi, Hisao! Great timing! I have a super extra lunch today, as promised. Let's go upstairs.
The stairway to the roof is a little dilapidated, but it's clearly been used recently. At the top of the stairs is a door, complete with missing padlock. I wonder who the intrepid individual was that removed the lock. Emmy shoves the door open and steps beaming into the sunlight. Suddenly, a tall, dark stranger appears out of nowhere, standing imposedly in front of us. Emmy flinches back, almost falling back down the stairs.
Hello. Shipes! You scared me, Rin.
Wait, isn't she...
Hello.
Noticing that Rin is speaking to me, Emmy looks curiously at me.
You two know each other?
I look confusedly at Emmy. She's that friend of yours? Rin has turned her gaze towards the clouds drifting above the school.
I didn't know you knew this person, Emmy.
Ellipses. The awkward silence lasts only for a few seconds until Emmy lets out a tiny giggle, shrugging the coincidence off.
I invited Hisao for lunch. If you know him, that's just better. Oh. Does this mean I don't get food? Or did you invite him for lunch without the lunch? Neither. I have food for 3. Nice thinking.
They walk to the other end of the roof while I stay at the clock tower for a while, taking in the atmosphere. There's nobody else but us up here. There is nobody else but us here. I guess the roof is not as popular as in other schools. A few rundown benches and tables are scattered around the edges, perhaps in an attempt to make the rooftop look less desolate. The small pebbles covering the roof rattle beneath our feet. I peek through the chain link's fence and take a look over the school grounds and beyond. Students are strolling in pairs and groups beyond the quadrangle and at the cafeteria. A few delivery trucks are driving past the school towards the convenience store nearby. Somewhere, a watchdog barks at a passerby. Somehow, when I look towards the town center, the small town feel strikes me very strongly, almost palpably. The hectic lifestyle of big metropolises seems so far away and foreign here. Nobody has to run to catch the bus like their life depended on it, or get their senses overloaded by the neon lights and traffic jams. I feel surprisingly optimistic about this new life of mine, looking at the new hometown, even if it's going to be mine only for one short year. Finding out about my illness and having to move away from home all came so suddenly. I hadn't had time to think about how I feel about it. When I step out of the shadow of the clock tower to the open, I feel warmth touching my back. The sun shines from a perfectly clear cerulean sky. A cool breeze sweeping over the rooftops makes me shiver, but only briefly. The wind carries the scent of trees and flowers, not smog and car exhaust like it used to, just a few weeks ago. Emmy settles on a bench with Rim in tow, and produces 1 big and 2 small lunchboxes from her bag.
Come on, Hisao. What are you waiting for?
She is beckoning me to join them, making room on the already small bench. I seat myself on the corner of the bench to take as little space as possible. It's pretty cramped, but somehow all 3 of us fit on it. Impressive view! Emmy suppresses a giggle and places a lunchbox in front of Rin and hands another lunchbox to me.
Here you go. Lunch, as promised.
Homemade, no less. I'm impressed. Wow, this looks really good.
Thanks. I make them myself when I can.
Conversation dies off as I set about the business of feeding myself. Taking a few bites, I glance up and notice Rim deftly opening the lunchbox and popping a fork full of food into her mouth using only her feet. Even though I've seen it before, I can't help but be impressed at her dexterity. It's also a reminder of the sort of place I'm in right now. Will I ever get used to sights such as this? I can't decide if getting used to such a thing would be a good thing or a bad thing either. Does getting used to this place mean I'm giving up on being a normal person? Or does it just mean that I'm becoming more understanding about those around me? I'm distracted from my thoughts by the sight of Emmy tearing into her lunch as if it had insulted her ancestors. You seem pretty hungry. Emmy looks up, mouth half full, and swallows before nodding.
My morning run always works up an appetite. Which is great, because then I burn through lunch pretty quickly. Helps me keep my girlish figure. What would happen if you lose it? Would you become a man?
I very nearly choke on my lunch, trying not to laugh.
It's a figure of speech. Does your figure have to run in the mornings too?
Do you always talk like this?
Talk like what?
I think that answers my question. Never mind. So, I struggle to think of small talk and settle on the obvious question. How do you two meet? Rin seems content to let Emmy answer this question.
Someone in the housing department thought that we complement each other well, so we were assigned rooms next to one another.
Compliment each other?
Like shoes in a suit.
Huh? Emmy giggles at my confusion.
Put us together and we've got all our limbs, get it?
Ah.
So I started helping Rin get ready in the mornings, and that was that. I mean, you can't help someone get dressed every morning and not get along.
I see. Rin chooses this moment to interject.
I have trouble with shirts.
Right, that seems fairly obvious.
Really?
Kind of. This isn't helping, but at least Emmy seems to find the whole thing funny. That, combined with the fact that Rin is genuinely curious, makes me feel slightly better and yet confused. I mean, you've got no arms. So, putting on a shirt seems like one of those things that would be difficult. You know what? I'm just going to stop talking now. It'll save me a lot of trouble in the long run. Rin nods in what I suspect is meant to be a sage manner.
I see.
The conversation dies as I turn my attention back to my lunch. It's really quite good. Emmy finishes her lunch first and makes a contented noise.
That was good.
As she busies herself with cleaning up her lunch, Rin speaks up.
I'm thirsty. Oh, I almost forgot about that. Sorry.
With a flourish, she reaches into her bag and removes a trio of juice boxes. She tosses me one that appears to be cranberry juice, one to Rin that appears to be some kind of strawberry milk, complete with pink color scheme, and keeps an equally pink box of some kind of fruit punch for herself. Rin dexterously stabs her straw through the top of her box and begins to drink. I'm once again impressed by how flexible she is, but this time I keep my comment to myself. Somehow, I don't think either Emmy or Rin are the sort of people to think twice about the way they work around their particular disabilities. Rin especially so. Indeed, she gives off the impression of being entirely unaware that she's missing any limbs at all. Whether or not that's a conscious decision is another matter. I'm honestly not sure.
So, Hisao, how do you like it up here?
It's quite nice, actually. I like high places. For the view. Thanks for inviting me up here. And for the lunch, too. Emmy grins a 1,000-watt grin, pleased by my response, I suppose.
No problem. Feel free to eat with us next time too, okay? I won't make you a lunch, but you can bring your own up here.
No lunch service? I don't know. Emmy looks mock offended.
Trying to take advantage of my good nature? The nerve!
She giggles.
Well, if that's your answer, I guess Ren and I will just keep eating lunch all alone.
I am suddenly assaulted by the most heart-rending puppy dog eyes I've ever seen as Emmy pouts. Kidding! I was kidding! I'd love to eat lunch up here again. Good location, and the company's okay too. Emmy frowns a bit at my declaration of okay, but seems happy enough that I've accepted her invitation. I guess this makes us friends now. Or at least acquaintances. The lunch bell rings, signaling a return downstairs.
Rin, you didn't finish your lunch again. Wasn't that hungry. If you don't eat more, you're going to fade away.
Rin shrugs, as if this is an acceptable risk. Come on, we better get going. The three of us head down the stairs together. Afternoon class passes. Once again, I find myself without a plan for something to do after school, so I head to the library to return a couple of the books I finished reading. Walking inside, I see that there are about as many students here as there were on Tuesday, all the more evident from the almost total silence enveloping the room. As I drop the books I borrowed into the return slot on the corner, Yuko suddenly pops up from behind it, quite startled from the banging they made as they hit the trolley next to her. "Ah, sorry Yuko, didn't mean to startle you."
No, that's fine. It happens a lot. I'm used to it by now. Can I help you?
"It's okay. I think I know where everything is. Thanks anyway. I suppose I'll grab another book or two while I'm here. There's not much else to do, and after reading so much during my stay in the hospital, it's become a hard habit to break." I wandered down the fiction section towards the back of the library, scanning the bookshelves for anything that catches my eye. As I do, I look over to the corner where Hanako had been the last time I was here, not really expecting anything to come of it. Surprisingly, though, she's there, absorbed completely in a fairly thick book. I decide against intruding on her like last time, and get back to finding reading material. After an indiscernible amount of time spent perusing the shelves, I finally decide on a couple of books to get and slide them off the shelf. With a minimum of fuss, I quickly walk over to the counter, check out my books, and pop them into my bag as I walk out. By the time I leave the main building, sunset isn't too far away. A small trickle of students remain, but the majority have left, presumably to their homes and dorms.